for taking the time to chat with us at The Christian Beat today about some of your recent music that just came out.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the support and the love you're showing.
Absolutely. So I think it was about a month ago or a couple weeks ago that Heartbreak and the Healing came out. I'm curious when you first started to dream of this project.
Well, the whole theme behind this album is one that's very personal. I walked through a divorce in 2019. And so after going through kind of this emotional roller coaster, I knew that it was time for me to start working on a project. But I was like, how in the world? Like, do I even talk about this? There's so much shame, or there's so much things that are wrapped in that whole process. And so I was like, maybe this can be in a form therapeutic for me to express myself, since it's not always easy to express myself kind of in conversation. I can use music to heal myself, and if the songs never make the light of day, that's okay. And so I started that process in 2020, and as I started writing some of these songs, everything was very raw and very fresh for me. So I feel like there was an array of different emotions from when I started to I finished the album. It came out 2 years later. So starting with a lot of pain, a lot of heartbreak, and then as the Lord just began to work on my heart and my healing and well-being, songs about being, a new day and kind of seeing God turning it around for something better. So it just became kind of like, for real, a journal for me with these songs. And I looked at some of the songs that I had written, and I'm like, okay, how do I do this? Some of these are very focused on heartbreak. Others are focused on healing. Is this like a two-sided album, or, how is it a part A, part B? But then I was just like, no, this is it. This is all of it. It's the whole process. It's the juxtaposition of finding, heartbreak and healing in the same experience, or beauty and pain, just all of these things that we experience as we grow. And so the name came to me. I was like, the Heartbreak and the Healing. And I shared it with like my immediate circle, and they were like, we love it. We think this is great. So that's where it all kind of came together.
That's awesome. I was actually going to ask when along the process kind of the title and inspiration for that came to you, if it was once you kind of had everything down and you were like sorting through it, or if you had kind of like gone in with that in mind when you started the project.
Definitely. I think it came after some of the songs had been written. I had the Heartbreak and the Healing title before I had the Healing, the song. But I knew I had these kind of like core subjects that I wanted to hit and talk about. And so as I started writing and getting some of the demos back, I was like, that's when the title came to me. So it definitely came after.
That's awesome. I'm curious, you mentioned that obviously that this was a lot of personal kind of journaling for you as you were working through these tracks. But I'm curious, now that listeners have gotten to interact with it and you've been able to see their feedback, if there's any of the tracks or lyrics that have taken on new meaning for you now that you've gotten to like see them be shared.
Well, one, I will say it is so mind-blowing to me. Like, I just read a message this morning about a girl who read an interview that I did that talked about the album and had listened to some of the songs, and our stories just kind of intertwined, and we're very similar, from me talking about abuse to going through divorce and raising a child, in kind of this new season that she's walking through. And so to me, it's so encouraging, something that feels so personal and so kind of your own story, how when you begin to share, it can like connect with other people's stories along the way, and in moments that you feel like no one would understand. Is this, should I even be talking about this? And then when you take the courage to do it, you see that there's a lot of people that are in the same place and have been inspired by listening to some of these songs. So I think I don't know that there's like a specific song that has changed in meaning. I think they've more just have come to life for me when I see how, through whatever God was speaking to me at the time with writing these songs, how it's now connecting with so many people where I didn't write it necessarily with that in mind. It was more like, here's my journey. I hope you guys are gentle with it. But instead it's like, oh my gosh, we needed this. This is something that I'm currently walking through as well.
Yeah, no, that's totally valid there. I'm curious, through the process of putting this collection together, what kind of stands out, or if there's a moment that stands out for you personally now looking back that was pivotal in the process, but maybe you didn't notice or realize it at the time?
Oh, there's so many moments in the album like that. I feel like one huge pivotal moment was writing Even at My Worst. That was early on in the process. And I remember being just super emotional as I was writing those lyrics and writing the song, because it really hit home for me, and feeling kind of this inadequacy of like, am I disappointing you, God, with how my life has turned out? And these are things that I never thought that I would have to walk through, but yet here I find myself, and I feel like, almost in a sense, like we put on those human characteristics onto God, and we're like, you must be like so disappointed in me. And so writing those down and being vulnerable was like a very, like, I remember that moment so clearly even now, and it's been some time since then. But what it's done, it's created almost like an experience in my head that when I sing it live, or I listen to it now, like when the album came out, I'm reminded of what I really felt at that time, and how much has changed since then. And like, it's almost like an opportunity to tangibly see the hand of God moving in your life, because I'm like, I'm not at that place anymore, and there's so much more new growth and understanding. But that song really, I don't know, it's really special to me.
Absolutely. And I know that you also had quite a few collabs on this project as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just curious how you kind of felt that those kind of fit into this project, and how they came to be.
Yeah, I have a handful of features on this album. I know with Dante, Bo, that was a very like full circle moment for me, because I listened to a lot of his music when I was walking through my divorce. And so songs that he did with like Maverick City and the whole Maverick City camp, like I would listen to their songs on repeat, and it was basically like healing for my heart. And then I had this idea, like as I was writing the healing, I was like, how crazy would it be if I had him on the song? And I showed the producer, like we looked up YouTube videos, and he was like, yeah, it'd be crazy. And so I reached out on Instagram, and he ended up saying yes. So that was such a cool moment to see kind of how it started with a vision of just what I would dreamed up, and then it actually came into fruition. And then with Jacqueline, she's on my song New Day, and I had this like, what do you call, it's almost like a goal, right? To really represent strong women within our industry, but not necessarily just within CCM, but like uniting kind of the gospel world with what I'm doing in CCM as a female. And so Jacqueline's a powerhouse vocalist. She's probably one of the top gospel artists out right now, but she's 24 years old and like just killing it. And so I was super inspired by her and her story, and reached out to her as well. Was like, would you be interested in me in this song? I sent it to her, and she said yes. And now we're like really good friends just from that whole experience. So I'm grateful for that as well.
No, that's awesome. I'm curious, you've gotten to play some of these live. I know you did, I believe it was Puerto Rico that you did a show featuring some of these as well. I'm just curious, how playing some of this music live kind of gets to bring it to life for you more, and getting to see, that tangible impact.
It's been amazing. I've enjoyed doing these songs live so much. I mean, on one hand, my last album came out in 2017. So it's been, what is that, 1892, almost 5 years. I have not done new music for the last 5 years. And so I've been performing the same songs for my last album over and over, and now getting the opportunity to just have this freshness in these new songs that mean so much to me has been life-giving. So I've enjoyed it 100%. And then even in that, just seeing the response and how this new music is really connecting with people is so motivating and encouraging, and just a beautiful experience to be a part of, to meet people live. And after COVID, you know, it was just like a weird time where you kind of lost that. And so it's been like fairly new for me to be back on the road and getting to see people face to face and feeling that energy. So it's been cool.
For sure. I'm curious, with this being such a personal project and coming from such a personal place, and then even to your point, you know, being your first, you know, new music to perform in 5 years, how does that kind of change or impact what you're looking to define as success for this album for you?
Man, I think when it comes to success, I've already hit the mark in my eyes. My biggest goal over the last 2 to 3 years, after experiencing what I did, was, Blanca, we're gonna find our voice again. And it's been my own personal journey of healing, and my own personal journey of just like having courage to be who I feel God has made me to be. And I think that had been lost a little bit along the way with some of the trauma that I experienced, and even through just my own insecurities, right? And so the biggest thing I wanted to like do with this next project was give people what I felt was a big part of me, and I think I accomplished that. So I feel like success has been hit.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. And I know success can mean so many different things at different times. So I was just curious for this one, where you were thinking. I know we're getting close to time, so I'll probably wrap with one final question for you. But I'm just curious, either personally or musically, what you're most expectant for, you know, looking at the rest of this year and then into the next 2023.
I feel so excited. I feel like it's just like just taking off. Like the album just came out. We have some tours lined up already for next year, and it just feels like the beginning of a new chapter in my life. And so there's a lot of freshness, and like it almost feels like an awakening, like I'm blossoming again in this season. And so I'm just expectant for really to just go on this ride, to surf this wave with the Lord and be like, whatever you have for me in this time, let me be open to receive it, whether good or bad. Like I just want to grow from this new album and this place that I find myself in.
Absolutely. I just want to thank you again, Blanca, for taking the time today. I've loved getting to hear a little bit more of your heart behind this latest project.
Thank you, Jessie. Again, thank you so much for even taking the time to interview me and support the new songs.
Absolutely. My pleasure.